Um, So before we get started, we can have a quick look at the survey results. Thank you for everyone who was able to fill this out. For those who haven't completed them yet, we'll spare a few minutes before we get into the lesson for you to complete them. And if you look at the survey results, you can see that there is an equal split in terms of participants' familiarity with basic programming concepts. Most of the respondents have some familiarity with installing packages in R, and there's a mix of experiences when it comes to troubleshooting errors in R. And my hope is that by the end of this workshop, when you're taking the post-workshop survey, a lot of these tracks will have more of the orange and maybe a bit of red. Yeah. So let's spend a bit of time to complete the pre-workshop survey. I had pasted in the chat the link to this survey, but you can also use the QR code on the screen. So if you could just take 5 minutes and complete that. I'll put on a timer.
Can you resend again the survey?
Hey guys, just while we're doing that, has everyone here been able to install everything that needed to be installed for today? So I think the main one is RStudio and R, and also some of the R packages. Some of the other ones like VS Code and Git and GitHub, I don't think are as necessary for today, right, Nima? But R and RStudio definitely. Maybe if you haven't been able to, just let me know and I can help you debug and troubleshoot, and we can maybe jump into a breakout room if we need to.
Okay, yeah, thank you for filling that out. So we can dive right in. This is an introductory course to R, and it does not assume any prior knowledge or experience. Based on the onboarding survey results, we have a mix of experience levels in the room, from beginners to more advanced participants. So start with a very basic foundation just to get everyone on the same level and be prepared for what's coming in the future sessions. And for those of you who are more advanced, I hope this also serves as a refresher of some of the best practices in working with R. But also we welcome you to support your peers, different exercises. This can also help you reinforce your own knowledge. And from my personal experience last year, I found this workshop to be helpful. Although I did come into the workshop with a bit of background working with R, which was mostly self-taught. This workshop just really helped me understand some of the best practices of using R, as well as expose me to some of the limits and more effective ways of doing things that I previously didn't know. So I hope everyone will be able to get something out of this. And our hope is that by the end of the session, you will be able to explain the difference between R and RStudio. You will also know how to install R packages in RStudio, as well as set up an RStudio project. And also you'll be able to execute functions in RStudio to explore data and manipulations. So what is R and RStudio? R is a programming language that is most popular for doing statistical analysis and data visualization. And RStudio is the user interface for working with R. And RStudio just makes programming using R much more easier. It is also free and open source. Both R and RStudio are free and open source, which means that there is a large community of active users, so it's easy to get support, and then you also have access to all of these different cool packages for doing different things that are being developed by the community members. And for this session, you need to have both installed. And yeah, thank you both for doing that quick check-in. I think everyone is all set, so yeah, we can dive right in. So let's have a quick overview of what the RStudio user interface looks like. And feel free to open RStudio now from your own machine. So when you open RStudio on your machine, it may open up to the same view as to what I have here on the screen, but it will be slightly different since these pens are customizable. And as you get more familiar with R, you may want to move around some of the panels, close some, depending on your own preferences. And as you can see here, there are 4 main panels. So at the top left, you have the text editor or script pen. And you can think of this as a Word document where you can type into it and you can save it so that it becomes a record of the steps that you're doing in your analysis. And writing here does not execute the code. You actually have to execute the code for it to work, but it just sits here as a record. And at the bottom left, we have what is called the console panel. And this is the part that interacts with the R language and executes the code. And at the top right, we have what is called the environment or history pen. And there are a few things here, but for this talk, we'll only focus mainly on the environment, which is basically where the objects that you create get stored. And we will revisit this, what these objects mean in a bit, but for now, that's all that you need to know. And at the bottom right, you have the navigation pen, which is the file manager that allows you to navigate through the files or folders, so you can open things and save things on RStudio and have these reflected in the working directories of your own machine, which I find to be really convenient. I'm just gonna pause there and welcome you to try it out on your own. So you can open up RStudio on your own machine and just see if you're able to locate the 4 pens that we just looked at. Has everyone been able to open up RStudio?
Yes, sure.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, thank you for that confirmation. Okay, great. So we'll have a bit of time to actually go in there and do some play around with it a little bit. But for now, before we dive in, I wanted to us to look at another important topic, which is the R packages. And before talking about packages, I'd like to note something important. So we have what is called base R, which is what comes in your machine when you install R. And it has many bits of code that you can use to perform many different computations. However, there are lots of people that spend time creating additional software packages that have chunks of code that put together little bit piece sizes to make executing some of these functions really easy. Example of some of the popular packages are these ones that you can see here shown on the left-hand side, some of which you have an opportunity to explore in some of the future sessions. All of those are put together in packages, and the way to access these functions it's you have to install the package on your own machine, and then you can play around now with the different functions within this. And if you want to understand the syntax of the function, what are some of the inputs and arguments required, you can use this help, with the question mark icon, which you'll also get to explore in a bit. So let's also break down the anatomy of a function. So I have here the install packages function, and this dot here doesn't really mean anything. It's just part of the word for the function. However, the parenthesis is a key language item, and so you cannot use that as part of the name of the function because what it is doing, it is separates the function phrasing with some of the other inputs that go into the function. And what goes into the brackets here is what is called the input or the argument of the function. And this argument needs to be placed within parentheses within these brackets. And usually you can also recall back to your data management using Excel workshop. Functions usually have the same structure, and that is true across different programming languages. So the syntax might be already familiar to some of you. So in the case here, we are going to put in the parentheses Quarto, which is also a library that you will get to explore in the future workshop sessions. So we can do a demo. I'll just stop sharing my screen and open up my RStudio. Okay, can everyone see my screen?
Yes, it's okay.
Great. Yeah, so you see here, I have 3 panels open instead of 4, and that's because I haven't opened up my script, which you can do by clicking on this little icon here that it says new file. And you can see here there are different options of the kind of files that you can open. So that you can open an R script, for example, or a Quattro document or an R notebook. In this case, I will open an R script. And yeah, voila, you have the 4 panels. And to install the Quattro package, I'm going to call on that function. And you can see our Studio interface is very helpful in that it also completes the name of the function. And I'm just gonna put the name of the function. I'm gonna click Control Enter. I'm using Windows. It might be slightly different if you're using a different machine. And you can see I have my Quattro package successful installed. Another way that you can also install a package is by going to this navigation pane and clicking on the packages icon. And then you can click on this little install tab. If you click on that, it will open up this little window where you can see that it is pulling from the CRM package repository. And here on the packages tab, you can write in the name of the library that you want to install. In this case. And this is where the library or the package gets saved, which is default, but you can also customize that when you get more experience with R. But for now, you can just leave to whatever default option that shows up. And if you click install, that will also install the package. So I'm gonna pause there for a second and see if there are any questions. And you can see that when you install a package, you also do get some information about the version of that. And again, you can see all the different packages that you have installed from this little packages window here. So for example, here, if I search for Quattro, I'll be able to see that I do have the Quattro package and the version is 1.5.1. Okay, if there are no questions, then you can also get to do a bit of practice. Let me just share my screen. Okay, can everyone see the exercise on the screen?
Yes, we can see.
Yes.
Okay, great. So yeah, let's spend 5 minutes to install Quattro. And for those that are more experienced, there's a bonus exercise for you. So you can try to create a script that checks whether Quattro is already installed on your machine. And if it's not, you can install it. You'll have maybe time at the end for you to show us what you come up with. Jerson, I see that you're saying that you cannot see if Quadrants is installed or not. Do you want to share your screen?
Yes, I've installed, but I can't see if I can't load it. I don't know if I didn't write very well the script or not.
Okay. Are you comfortable sharing your screen and then we can see what's happening?
Yeah. So first I installed Quarto, and then I was loading if it is installed or not. So it just appeared this message.
So the fact that you can run that and it doesn't give you an error is generally a good indication that it works and you've loaded it.
Okay.
So that
So
should
it
be
means
fine.
that, okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Whereas
Yeah,
if you-
there's some, we'll get into it a bit in terms of like how you can also load. There are some syntax errors in how we're calling it, but we'll get into that a bit later. Has everyone else been able to complete that? Okay, I will take that as a yes. So yeah, I'll just share the screen again. Okay, so we will look into project organization with RStudio. And prioritization and naming are super important in project management. As you guys may have talked about this a bit in the data management workshop, it is good to continue maintaining these best practices when naming files and organizing folders when working with R and RStudio as well. So you want to use names that are clear and intuitive, particularly because in our collaborative environment, you might be working with people and they also need to have visibility and that continuity of what you are doing. So practicing and maintaining good naming practices just helps everyone that is involved. And something that we're going to make use of is what RStudio gives us, what is called as RStudio projects. And these allow us to have all our documents in one place and also use that relative path. So basically, all of the files on your machine are stored to a location which is linked to a path. So this could either be in your users or in your documents folder. And what our project does is that it allows us to have all our files from a single place, and then we don't need to assign the whole string of that file path in order to locate it. We can just do that relative to the project main folder. And I have here on the right-hand side our project that I created last year when I was doing the independent project, also as part of this ECR. And you can see at the top right-hand side the name of that our project folder. And in there, I have different subfolders that I just use to organize the data and the visualizations and other different files that I was working in this independent project. So this is really a handy way of just keeping everything organized and easily accessible. Yeah. So again, we are going to do another demo where we will set up an RStudio project. So I'm going to show that from my screen, and then you also have a chance later to do it on your own. I'm just going to share my studio again. Yeah, so I'm going to clear my console just because it looks a little bit cluttered right now. And one way to do that is by using this broom little icon here on the top right-hand side in the console pane. So if I click on that, it clears everything. So now I have a whole canvas to play around with. And to create an R project, there are 3 different ways that you can do that. One, you can go through the file here and then click on this new project, or you can click on this little icon here. That will also create a project. Or you can also go on the right-hand side here where it says project. You can also open a new project. So you can try whatever path that you prefer. And once that little window does open, there are 3 different options. So you can open, you can create a project based on a new directory or an existing directory or version control. This is something that we won't talk about here, but when you you get to the workshop on Git and GitHub, you'll be able to see how you can do that. So here you can just create a new directory and click the option new project. And then here I will write in the name of this R project. So I will say workshop 3, intro to R. And then you can select where you want that project to be created. I'd already played around with it before, that's why it automatically says that. But if you click on browse, it opens up to your machine file directory, and you can just select exactly where you want to place that new project in. So in my case, I'll just leave it as that, and then create a new project. And yeah, you can see that here by the top right corner, you can see that my new project name is appearing. And you can see the directory also has changed. Sorry, we didn't check the directory before, but in your case, when you get to work on this exercise, I would want you to type in the console this command here that says get working directory. Which essentially just prints you where your R session is accessing the file path. And as you can see in my case, it's the one for the R project that we just created. And I'm going to add some folders here. So create a folder, and the way to create a folder within that is by clicking on that little folder icon. I'm going to call my folder data. And then I'm going to create another one and call scripts, where I'm going to save my scripts. And now my data folder is empty, but I'm going to add into this the data set that you guys worked on in the data management using Excel workshop. So I'm just going to go into my machine and add that. Maybe if I go back. Now, yeah, you can see that if I open up my data folder, it now has that routine data CSV that I added. So whatever that I did on my own machine work file directory is reflected here. So I'm going to pause there for a second and see if there are any questions, comments.
Thank you, Nima, for explanation. So when you was explaining about creation of the project, I didn't get very well when you was writing the name of the project.
Okay.
Yeah, you wrote I think that you wrote project dot and something else. So yeah.
Okay. Let me just, I'll do the steps again and then you stop me or tell me if you rest tab. So we wanted to create a new project. I showed them 3 different ways and I clicked on this little create a project here, but you can also do that from the files. And this is what happened, opened up to. So you can see this little window icon with the different options. There's the new directory, and then you click on the first selection, new project. And here, that's where you can put in the name that you want your project to be called, where it says directory name. Is that where your question was referring to?
Yes, now I got it.
Yeah, okay, great. Are there any other questions? All right, if there are no questions, then we can try this out on our own. Just so you can see the exercise that just opened up. So I'd like you guys to set up a project, and these are the steps that you can follow along. We'll spend 7 minutes doing this. And yeah, if you get stuck at any point, please do shut up. You all have access to the data from the first workshop, right? Or do you need me to paste it in the chat? Let me see if I can paste it in the chat. Okay, so for those who don't have access to the routine data file, I've just pasted it in the chat. So where you say set location and name, that is if you wanted to customize the location where you want that our project to be stored, other than the default, what will show up as default. And then the name is the name of the art project.
We have 4 people that have said they've completed. How's everyone else going? Does anyone need help with anything? Any questions?
Okay, so you take that as everyone has completed the exercise and there are no issues. Okay, we can take a 10 minutes break, and then we'll come back and proceed. I'll let you guys know when start again. All right. Are we all back? Okay, great. So the next thing that we'll talk about is the assignment of creation of objects in R and how you can do that either directly on the console or by writing it up in a script. So you can execute code directly without saving it to an object by either typing it directly on the console and pressing enter, or you can write it in the script as well and then run Control Enter for Windows or Command Enter for Mac. And you can, if you want to retain the object that is created by this code, you can do so by assigning it to a value or variable using the assignment operator that we'll get to see in a bit. And then to save the code itself, you need to write it in the script file. If you do not save code in the script file, when you do, you won't be able to access it again when you close out the working session. So I'm going to do a quick demo. So here I am going to, in my console, I'm going to compute the sum of two numbers. And you can see it returns that result. I can do the same thing in the script, in the R script. Then I have to write Control Enter. And you can see the result also shows, gets printed in my console here. Now, if I want to retain the value of this summation that I just did, I can do that by creating a variable. Let me call it X, and assign it and use this assignment operator now to assign the value of the result of this code here. And now if I run that, you'll see that an object is being created in my environment panel over here, X, and it does have the value. And if I want to also check that, I can write that variable X. And then if I do Control Enter, then the value for that also shows up in my console. So let me do something with the data that I just created. I am going to load the routine data that we just added to our project. And I am going to load it using a function called read CSV, which is found in the library dplyr. And this also relates to the question that you had, Jason. How do you check to see if you had successfully installed a package? One of the ways to do that is by using this library function. So you type in the name of your package within this library function. And if you have it installed, then you won't get any error, but you see that the package now will be successfully touched in your current R working session. Once I've loaded that, I'm going to use this function called read CSV. So routine underscore data, CSV. And you see, I'm getting an error in read underscore CSV could not find the function read CSV. I'm going to try a different function. read.csv and see that runs. Okay, so now I'm getting another error here that says cannot open file routine underscore data.csv because there's no such file or directory. So this error tells me something about the file path where I am currently on. And to diagnose that, I am going to check where my R session is reading from. And to do so, I'm going to use that function that I showed you earlier where it says get wd and run that. And you can see that I am my working directory, so I'm in the project, but not in the data file where my routine data is stored. So I'll need to specify that in my file path. I can do that by saying data /routine data csv. And you see if I run it again, my data does get printed in my console. I'm going to save this script. And I'm going to save it in my script files. I'm going to call it ECR. Now if I open up, you can see that my function has been saved there. So I'm going to give you some time to also play around by creating, writing code directly on console without saving it to an object, and then doing the same as well in a script file, and then assigning that value to an object, and then doing the same thing, running it both on console and script. And then, yeah, we'll follow up with the next steps now, loading the CSV file. So if you can do the steps on the screen. I'm going to give you about 3 minutes to do that. And thank you, Hugo, for adding that description of the error. So yeah, as you can see that the read underscore CSV code that I was trying to reference, that function is actually in a different library than the dplyr. So we can also try to play around using both of the two functions. Okay, are there any questions? Okay, yeah, we can proceed. So there are different ways that you can explore your data set using different functions in R. So for example, here you can use this function called head data, which will return the first 6 rows of the data frame, or tail data that will show the last 6 rows of the data frame, or string data that will show the variable types of all of the columns that are included in your data frame, or summary data that will give us a summary of each of the variable within the data set. And this data frame is the object that you create after you have read your CSV file in R. And I'm just going to give a quick demonstration of that. Okay, so now I am going to create a variable called data, and I am going to assign this data frame that I will read of my routine data set. I'm just going to run that. Control Enter, and you can see in my environment now that data object has been created. And you can explore it by directly when clicking on that object. And you will open up to this little window that is a table showing all the columns in your data and the rows and the different values. But also, if you want to just pull in the 6 rows of that data set, you can say head data, then click Control Enter, and you can see that in the console, I'm seeing a printout of the first 6 rows of my data set, as well as all of the columns included in my data set. If I just wanted to check the last 6 rows of my data set, we'll just use the function tail. And then, yeah, you can also see just these last rows of my data printed out. And if I wanted to look at the different variables that I included in my data set, you can use the function string. And you can see here for each of the variables or columns in the data set, it tells you what type of variable that is. So for example, we know that the admin1 column type of data is character, whereas health facility, for example, the values for its values are integers. Same for year and the rest of the tests in these other columns. And then if I just want to have a quick summary of the statistics of my data frame, I can use the function summary data. You can see here in my console, I do get a summary. And even by just quickly looking at the summary information on some of these columns, I can already start seeing some of the issues with my data. So for example, when you look at the column year, you can see that the minimum is 18, and that doesn't seem to be correct. And the maximum is 18. So I think these are supposed to be corrected to 2018. But also when you look at some of the test results in some of the columns, so for example, tested underscore U5, the minimum test is negative, which shouldn't be correct. So by quickly just looking at these summary statistics of the different variables, you can already start to see some of the issues with your data. So these are some of the basic exploration that you can already do quickly using these very simple basic R functions. So I'm going to pause there and then give you guys an opportunity to also play around. So if you could follow the steps on exercise 4, and if you get stuck at any point, please do give a shout.
Gerson, do you want to share your screen and show us what you're seeing?
Yes. I'm not sure. I think that they've opened, but I think it's better to share so that you can see. Can you see?
Yep.
Okay, so I think that I was writing something wrong.
Yeah. So what you've done there is you've executed it and it has opened it, but it's pretty much just like vomited everything into the terminal. So it hasn't like you haven't saved your data frame as any sort of object. So to do that, we use that assignment variable that that Nima was sharing, which is that sort of greater than sign with a dash like this. And we want to assign it to some name. So in that line 4 that you have, you can say something like data frame and then that assignment operator and then the rest of what you have, which is a read.csv.
So I didn't get you very well. Can you
Yeah.
share
So
maybe on the screen or on
so I've
chat or
dropped it in
something?
the chat, but I can also, yeah, absolutely share my screen.
Something like that.
Yeah. Can you see my screen now as well?
No, I can't see it.
You might have to stop your share to do that. Can you see it now?
Not yet.
I'll just stop and try again. All right. Does this work?
Yes, I can see it.
Cool. So this is my studio terminal. You can see it's in dark mode, but everything else is the same. And what you had was something that looked like this, which works. But what it does is once you execute that, is it just vomits everything down here.
Okay.
It's like you just asked to show you what it was. But what we actually want is we want to save it as a variable. So to do that, we add some name out the front. We can call it data. We can call it data frame. We can call it our routine data, whatever it is you might be. And then we use this assignment operator, which says this thing, I want to be called this. So now when I run this,
Yeah.
you'll see that it's now run in the console, but it didn't print anything.
Okay.
Because the main work of this was to assign this spreadsheet to this name. And then you can see that it's been stored here. I've also already executed before with the data, so it's both of these are exactly the same, and we can view it here. And then if I do something like typing our routine data and execute, then it does that same thing that it did to you before, which is it just like vomits it into the terminal, but it hasn't actually done anything to it. Does that make sense? Were you able to get that to work?
Yeah, okay, let me try. Yeah, I followed your instruction, but I can't see any change.
No worries. Shall I stop my share or are you still looking at it?
Yeah, let me try is.
Mhm.
No, it's Sam. Let him share.
Sure. We can also jump into a breakout room, Nemo, if it's easier.
Yeah.
We're actually ahead, so we have a bit of extra
Ahead of
time.
time? Cool.
Yeah.
Well, then
Yeah.
this is some live interactive debugging, which is good. Yeah,
Yeah.
so now you should have done that. So you can see there that I think it did work. The reason you can't see it up there is because you're looking at history, not on environment. So if you click on environment, can you see that in the bottom right pane? Yeah, if you click on that,
Okay.
you can see it there. And you can click on something like our routine data and view it in there directly then.
Okay, now I can see it.
Yeah.
So now I can do the exercise.
Yeah, you should be able to. And you can name it something shorter if you want. Our routine data is quite a long name for that variable. But that's the fun part of R. You can sort of name things whatever you like and that kind of thing. You just have to execute it again. So whenever you might change the name or change something in the code, you have to press Command Enter so that it runs it again.
Let me try another name.
Yeah, nice. Cool. And you can see that it's pretty much identical to what you had before, which was our routine data. Both are a data frame, both of length 17, same size, same values.
Okay. So now is next step to can I try to like
But it has to be our data, has to be the exact same. Yep. Nice. Yeah, exactly. And then
okay.
the last 6 rows of the data frame.
Okay, thank you.
Nice. No worries. I think back to you, Nima.
Yeah, thank you, Val. Are there any other questions? Yeah, if not, we can move on. Okay, can you all see my screen? Okay. So we can also use our functions to do some basic manipulations of the data set. The package deprior that I demonstrated before contains useful functions such as rename that you can use to assign new names to the variables in the data frame, or filter that you can use to filter out data based on some conditions that you set. You can also update values in your data frame as well using the function that I just showed in this video. So we can also do another quick exercise. So you're ready, if you could all go into your RStudio and load the package deprior on the script that you had created. And then you can try to rename the columns. So you can rename the admin 1 and admin 2 to province and district respectively, and say that new data frame to a new object called data underscore updated or whatever name that you decide using. I'll go back to this previous screen to show you the function that you can use to do that. I'll give you about 2 minutes to do that. Is everyone able to follow along? Does anyone want to volunteer sharing the screen?
Yeah, I can
Anyone?
share.
Okay, thank you, Jason.
Okay, but I don't think that anything changed here. Okay, first, I will need the admin 1 to admin, but then admin 1. So it seems like I don't see the renamed variable.
Look at the very first
And
column. Oh, yeah, if you look at the very first column, there's a slight change to the name. Before
First-
it was, yeah, the first column.
this one.
Yeah. I think before it was ADM1, and now it has changed to ADM underscore 1 based on the new name. So that's the new name that you've assigned at the top.
Okay, so it's like the first name was admin 1 without the underscore.
Yes.
Okay.
So in that rename function, remember we talked about the arguments. So the first argument is the data frame object that you have created. And then you want to specify which new name that you want to assign before that equal sign operator. And then after the equal operator, that's where you add the old variable name.
Okay.
And you can do that for multiple columns at the same time. If you want to try out changing the name for admin pool as well. And then this time around assign it to a new data frame object.
So can you come again?
Do you want to try changing the name admin two column to district and assign it to a new data frame object?
Sorry, I didn't get it very well.
So I wanted to ask if you wanted to try out changing the name of admin two column as well.
Change name of admin to columns.
The second column.
Okay. Okay, like change. Okay.
Yeah, so you change the first column, try changing the second column as well.
Okay.
Okay. And then I want you to save it to a new data frame object. So you see that you had the first one as R data. You can create a new data frame object that will reflect these changes, because right now as it is, these changes that you did are not saved, so they're not reflected in any of the object. So you can create a new object using the assign operator, similar to how you did it when you were reading the CSV file.
Sorry, I didn't get it.
So I'm asking
So
you to create.
maybe I can ask you have to explain, because maybe I can, sometimes I don't get it very well, maybe because of language, and you are somewhere with the equal.
Yeah, that's okay. Yeah, Yuval, you want to try?
Sure. Yeah, so Gerson, you are close there. So what you've now done is you've renamed the columns twice. Or so you renamed each column. But again, what this does when you just execute it like that is, again, it just like prints it out to that console down the bottom. It doesn't actually update your variable. So to
Okay.
update your variable, you have to do that assignment operator like we did up on line 5. Right? And this time we might want to call it something new to show that we've updated the data.
Okay, so do I need to,
But just the assignment operator. So just that little greater than and then the dash.
like update, something like that?
Yeah, but you want that in with your rename function. So so far you've got, like, in line 10, for example, you've renamed the ADM1 column you've renamed it to ADM_1, right? But now we want that to be a new data set. So to do that, we have to assign it to a new object name.
Like this? Okay.
No, not quite. So if you go up to line 10 and before what you've entered there, you just enter something like this. And then where I have your XXX, that's That's what you
Okay.
already have in line 10. So you just enter that before. No, but on row 10. So can you see what I sent in the chat?
Okay, let me see.
Yeah, so don't delete what you have there. Just insert that new data and then the assignment operator before what you have.
The new data is the like new name.
Yeah, we've given it a new name.
Okay. It's kind of that one. Is it okay?
Sure.
Okay. And then
Yeah, so you can put that on row 10. So you can still go back and edit things that are in row 10. So you can
so
put that data 1 and then the assignment
everything
operator before the rename.
so everything on the I have to
Yeah,
copy and
or you
paste
can
everything to it.
bring it down there. Yeah. Now, the only thing is, you've renamed one column here, but we might want to rename both of them, right? So if you renamed one column, but if you do that, then we'll have eData1 as having the new column name. And then if you try to do it again for the second column, you'll have to override it and actually do the renaming to eData1. So what you want to do here is add another comma, and then we can do the second argument or the second column renaming. So just before your closing bracket, you can add a comma. Yeah, and then you can do the second renaming. So I actually think we wanted to call it something different, not admin 1 and admin 2. So in the exercises, it says admin 1 should be province and admin 2 should be district. So for this ADM 2 one, let's call it district. So we'll go district equals ADM 2. And you have two equal signs there, which will give you an error in R. Yeah.
So I have to do the same here.
Yeah, and then this one we want to call province. Perfect. Now, if you run that, so you do Command Enter, do you see how now you have in your environment a new data frame called eData1?
Yeah.
Now you can check that it did what you wanted to do. So if you do head eData1, then we can see what eData1 is, what the column names are.
So do you said?
So if just in your new line, so in line 14, you can go head eData1. You haven't quite named it the same yet. Yep, perfect. And you can see that now the first two columns are named province and district rather than admin 1 and admin 2.
Okay, thank you.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Cool. And then you have the second, sorry, I think it's exercise 3, which is filtering it and checking how many rows were received. So I don't know if Nemo, you want to share screen again or yeah, pretty much. The only problem with that filter as it currently stands is, well, there's two problems actually. First of all, that's not your variable name. The variable name isn't data. It's the eData1 now, right? It's that new one. No, but not in that, not in the column. Yeah, there you go. And don't forget, we've renamed. So this is actually a great error. So stop. If you just read the error first, it goes, well, like filter throws up an error and says, I can't do what you're asking for because I can't find the column name admin1, ADM1, right? And that's because we renamed it. So now it's called, yeah, exactly. Yeah. Perfect. And now you get an output where province was filtered to West. Yeah, so you can see how everything in that first column is only equal to West.
Yeah. Okay, thank you.
No worries.
Okay, great. Yeah, thank you, Yuval, for that orientation. So for the interest of time, there are some additional practice exercises that you can follow along from the course website. So feel free to explore, and if you run into any issues, feel free to reach out. Yeah, you can use the group, the WhatsApp group chat that we have. So to finish us off, I wanted us to spend a bit of time to do the post-workshop surveys. So there is one for this session and then one from the session that you had last week, the malaria AP1. If you could please just spend the next 5-8 minutes to quickly fill that up, that would be very helpful.
Nema, can you share it on the WhatsApp, on the chat group?
Yes. Just a sec. Okay, so people, I think people have completed the surveys. And yeah, if you haven't, please, we will be sending the links, so do complete them before the end of this week. But we have come to the end of our session. Yuval has been kind enough to drop in the chat some workarounds for the solutions when you get into doing the exercises. So you can use that as a check of whether you got everything right. But otherwise, I hope this was a helpful session. Thank you so much, Yuval, for all your support. And yeah, please do keep in touch if you have any additional questions. But yeah, otherwise, we will see you guys next week.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you, Nima.
Bye.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you, Nema. Bye.